I grew up in an environment that was not female empowering. A lot of us sometimes don't know how to express, this is how I feel. I feel like I want to unfurl, but I'm hitting something every time I do it. I'll get a rash all the way up my neck, like that would be bright red because I was so nervous just to even pray out loud.
You were the speaker. I didn't even catch that.
I was the speaker at the event and I wasn't allowed in because I didn't look how they needed me to look.
Hey friend, well, welcome back to Flight Club episode 2. I'm here with Charlotte today. We're back for our second episode. Hey, we are trying to build a Flight Club community. So if you are not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, let us know, be a part of the conversation. We want to invite you all into that conversation. But today, Charlotte, I am so excited. This is a special conversation about this poem that you wrote called The Gilded Cage. Now, before we read the poem, I did hear that you wrote this in the back of a car. Is that true?
It is true. Strange things happen. In the back of that car, I just really all of a sudden was like, wait a minute, I feel like there's some words coming. And that happens every now and again with me. I'm a word girl. So I have a notes section in my phone that's always been filled with different things that I'm observing. But on this particular occasion, I was being driven to the airport and I just began typing these words, and as I'm typing them, they're just flowing, and I realized I'm writing. I guess I was like, I think I'm writing a poem. And so I actually remember being in the car, and had I been, Sandy works with me as basically keeps me on track in every area of life. But normally I'd be like, okay, Sandy, what do you think about this? And Sandy wasn't there. So this woman that I did not know at all that was driving me to the airport, I was like, hey, can I read you something? And let me know, does this sound like something that you would like relate to? And so I'm reading it to this complete stranger. And she's like, ooh, this is really good. So I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And that became one of the anchors in the Flight Club Bible study that we kind of build out. So I wrote a poem in the back of a car.
So funny because I remember Sandy sending it to me and I was like, wait, she wrote this in the back of a car? Yeah. Like most people need, a aesthetic candle, like their Bible open, a quiet environment, and here you are.
Yeah,
inspiration in the back of the car.
No candles, no nothing.
Well, why don't we start then by you reading this poem?
Okay, it's in the Flight Club. We put it in the small group Bible study. Yeah, okay. In the and so you can actually get it inside here. My best friend from England, we just moved house, which is a whole nother episode in itself. But she surprised me by getting this made into artwork for my office.
Stop.
So I have it on 3 different pieces of art with an eagle silhouette in the background, and it's written. So I look at this now every day. But yes, I will read you The Gilded Cage. Are you sitting comfortably?
Story time.
Then we shall begin. People once built me a cage. It was gilded with words they hoped would entice me to enter. It was made to appear as a gift, and yet its purpose was to restrain the gift God placed within me. The invitation was to enter and express my abilities as long as they fit within the confines of others' sensibilities. The cage was portrayed as an act of generosity and a way to prove to those who built it my gratitude and humility. Yet this cage was not built with faith in the God deposit in me, but a fear that my flight could frustrate what had been made tidy, and my wingspan even expose others' insecurity. This cage of control, they insisted, was good for me, and yet there was no mention of the damage its confinements would do within me. How could I fulfill my calling if the cage restricted my obedience to the one who called me? So I sent my apologies to the cage makers and refused to be swayed by the persistence of its keepers. My heart knew all too well that cages are man-made, not God-ordained. He never placed one animal he made in the confines of a cage, so how much less would he do that to his daughter? What he created, he liberated. To each, he gave an environment that would provide them with the greatest setting for their unique gifting. To some, the sea, to others, the air, to some mountains to scale, to others, lush pastures to roam. His boundaries were borders for blessing, not bars for controlling. And once I understood what I was made for, then I could no longer shrink my size to sit on the perch of people's approval. You and I, my friend, have skies to soar and valleys to explore, horizons to discover and new territory to uncover. So decline the cage you may be offered and incline your face to the wind that beckons. Unfurl your wingspan and don't apologize for the beauty it brings, and let the one who made you be the one who frees you.
That is so, there's so much to that poem, and it's so dense because those words are really profound. I wanted to ask you, was there a moment, because obviously you're writing this from an experience, was there a moment for you that you realized that you were in a cage?
I think I was surprised myself that the words that came out, because I don't think I would have ever used the word caged to describe my life. I don't feel I ever felt like, oh, this person they've locked down my potential. Or so it shocked me the way that the words flowed out of me. But I think it was me now seeing in retrospect so many ways in which my wings were clipped, or I was advised in certain areas that now I look back on and go, I don't know that that was to liberate me more than it was to contain me. And so though I didn't ever feel I lived a life where there was physical bars, caged, confined, constricted, I don't feel I ever lived like this, but I realized I lived very much on that perch of people's approval. And that is a cage.
Yeah.
No matter what you call it, even though you might not be bumping against a bar every day, it is there in the atmosphere. And so I think it just became a great vision and an illustration of how a lot of us sometimes don't know how to express, this is how I feel. I feel like I want to unfurl, but I'm hitting something every time I do. I feel like every time I'm bright and radiant with what God made me good at, it somehow is not welcomed, or I'm made to feel it's too much.
Yeah.
And so there was definitely seasons of my life that I went through. I didn't, a lot of people see what I do and they're like, wow, you're so liberated and you're so, I'm like, I grew up in an environment that was not female empowering. I was surrounded at one time, from my church background in England coming up, I was even in a denomination at the first part of my journey as a young woman, a young believer was, well, if you're a female, you should have your head covered to, even pray, or, if you're going to do something public, then, it had to be run through all of these checks and balances. And so in its own way, that became, well, I can't go any further than this, and I certainly can't do that. And so that though I wouldn't have called it a cage, it definitely was, it was cutting off all the options that I kept trying to push to go, well, I wonder if I could do this, and I wonder if I could do that. And I realized that's not welcome in this environment. And so I think we all have our version of those experiences where maybe our gift intimidates someone else, or our wanting to get something out of our hearts is misread as being rebellious or not fitting the status quo. I definitely grew up with an awareness of that. And I think that became a holding pattern for something that now I'm free in.
Wow. So I think that goes directly with what you say in the book, which is the invitation was to enter and express my abilities as long as they fit within the confines of others' sensibilities.
Right.
Was there a specific experience that you can point back to that really was that for you, where you didn't feel like you had the ability to be fully you and fully spread your wings?
I mean, there was many occasions where I bumped into,
I'm sure, yes.
I bumped into those kind of, one that comes flooding back to my mind as we're talking is years ago when you have to understand, I'm an introvert, okay? So I never ever thought that I would be doing what I'm doing on a public platform. That just is not me. So, when I was, just beginning to, obey God and step out into what I was called to do, I was as nervous as anything. I'd get a rash all the way up my neck, like that would be bright red because I was so nervous just to even pray out loud or speak out loud. So, eventually I'm just like, okay, God, if you're asking me. So back in England, back in the day, we had a network that was called Women Aglow. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that. It's a terrible name. Sorry, whoever came up with that name, Women Aglow. So don't even know what that means. We glow in the dark. I don't know. Anyway, I was invited to go speak at this thing, Women Aglow. And I remember being so nervous, and I took one of my friends with me. And I had on leather trousers and like a blazer. So I was dressed how I thought was appropriate for the event. I looked smart. And so we go to this place, which was in this like community hall in England. And we go to this place and we're looking for where the event is because it's in this hired hall. And we go to this door and there's a woman on the door, and she's quite old and silver, set hair. And, I look at her and I'm like, and I realize she's like on the door to welcome people to this event. So I go and I did not get a welcome. She looked at me and I said, oh, I'm here for an event. And she goes, I don't think it would be our event. You don't look like the kind of person that we would have in our event. And she basically had looked at my outfit and decided that I more belonged in the bar across the street than I did in the Women Aglow meeting.
The leather pants.
Yeah. So she literally turned us away thinking I had the wrong venue, only for us to call someone and then go, look, no, we're in this building. We're like, we were just there. So we had to go back to the same lady on the door and go, I'm the speaker. You have to let me in.
You were the speaker. I didn't even catch that.
I was the speaker at the event and I wasn't allowed in because I didn't look how they needed me to look. And I remember speaking, and I guess they only wanted me to speak for a certain amount of time, and I didn't get that memo. So I'm just, trying to, remember, I'm nervous. I'm just trying to share the word of God and encourage someone. And I just remember in the middle of me talking, this lady getting up and just like they would in England, went to put the kettle on to brew the tea because it was tea time. Yeah. And she didn't care what I was saying.
Yeah.
The cookies were handed out and everyone just starts getting up and going and having tea and cookies. And I'm just like, well, I guess we're done.
Okay, service is over.
I guess there's one scenario where I'm like, they wanted me, but they didn't want me like that. I didn't fit their sensibilities. I wasn't the package that they were looking for. And And I've had multiple moments like that where whether it's because I'm just confident in what God's given me, or whether it's just that go ahead, what were you going to say?
No, that's what I was going to say is you seem so confident where you are now. Like, how have you gone from that and in what you said about like you had a red rash that would just go up your neck?
I still get that.
You do. The nerves and, I even off camera, like we had this conversation, I'm like, do you not get nervous?
Right.
Like, and so how have you gone from that to where you are now? I know you said you sometimes still get the rash, but like.
Right. And I think that comes back to that point in the Gilded Cage that I talk about how it's that security thing, right? That a lot of times people's insecurity wants to keep you confined. And I just didn't want to be insecure. Yeah. And that's easy to say, but that is a huge thing to have to, it's a huge giant to have to slay. We all deal with insecurity. Yes. And so was I always confident? No. Am I naturally confident? No. My confidence is in my obedience. If I know God's asked me and I know it's what he's shown me that I'm supposed to do, my confidence is that I am being obedient to my call. And so the rest God will help me with. Yeah. But the obedience is what makes, God has asked me to say it and he's called me to do it. And that's where I get a security from, is that, I know I'm doing the thing that God has asked me to do. And so I think insecurity is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people end up either caging someone else because they're intimidated by them, or jealous of them. Or insecurity can be why we stay in a cage.
Yeah.
Because we don't want what's on the other side. We don't want the conversation. We don't want the potential conflict.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, no, am I always confident? I think it's just literally, I think I live a life that I've vowed to be obedient.
Yeah.
And in that I've found is my confidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so that ties directly into, in the poem you say, how could I fulfill my calling if the cage restricted my obedience to the one who called me? So how do you in your life tell the difference between control versus covering and moving in that?
Right. I think for me, there comes a point for all of us where you realize if I don't do this, I'm in trouble with God. And I would rather be in trouble with people than I would be in God, right? And so there just comes this moment where we all have to decide, like, God asked this. God has assigned this season to look the way it has. And I have to be obedient to that. And I guess the way you figure out whether you're in a controlling environment over a covering environment is that people that cover you are also listening to God about you and about your life. And they want you to be obedient to the God thing more than they do to their thing. And so I think they love the God in you more than they love their version of you.
Yeah.
And I think they want to liberate you to your future, not just keep you on the perch that has become familiar. I think about the relationship with a David and a Saul, right? If you think about that relationship, David was obedient. That's all he was. He was obedient to the call of God on his life. And his obedience put him in direct contrast with the lack of confidence in Saul, who had the title, who had the position, and yet he didn't have the security that David had found in the simplicity of just, well, I'm a shepherd and, I'm a servant. And, he was just an obedient son to his dad. He was running errands to his brothers on the front line. He was just obedient, and that gave him the confidence that he has. And Saul was always striving, right at the beginning of Saul's, call, he's hiding in baggage. He began insecure, and the more position and title you get, if you are insecure, it will only exaggerate your insecurity. So everything around you will give you the potential to be more controlling. But if you are insecure, you're going to use that for a way that becomes manipulative. And we just read, the story of, David, this secure shepherd, and Saul, this insecure king.
Yeah.
And, it starts with, David is just, taking on Goliath, and Saul's already trying to control it. Wear my armor, lift my sword. But David's so secure in his obedience. He's like, I don't need all that stuff because I'm just being obedient. And if God's with me, my sling and stone is enough.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. His confidence wasn't in the things that Saul was placing his confidence in. Saul's confidence was reliant on the title and the army and the, the armor and the sword. Yeah. And David's confidence was on his obedience. And I heard from God, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I think all of that on our journey through life of, navigating seasons where sometimes we just want somebody's approval. It's never really going to give it to you.
Yeah.
If in giving you that approval will propel you forward in a way that actually makes them feel somehow they had to step backwards. Does that make sense? And we all need people in our life that when we shine, they don't want to dim us. But they are not intimidated by us because they know that's who God made us to be.
Yeah.
And I think I had people in my life that wanted to know where the dimmer switch was. And that's hard because there were people that loved me. girlfriends that I did life with for a long season and, and you never see it coming.
Yeah.
Because you kind of start off the journey together and you're doing life and your life looks similar. And then all of a sudden there's a Goliath moment. And you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, wait a minute, what just happened? And now you're like, I guess I just did something that attracted attention that I wasn't looking to attract. But I took a Goliath down, but I only did it because I was being obedient. And now I'm not the boy hidden on a hill. Now I'm the giant slayer. And now everybody wants to be my friend, but I didn't do it for that reason. And moments like that in our life begin to reveal who's okay with you being that version of you.
Yeah.
And who actually is like, no, I need you to go back on the hill.
Yeah.
Because I can be your friend while you're the shepherd boy.
Yeah.
But I'm finding it really hard to celebrate you while you're the giant slayer.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you realize, I think there's a cage dimension to this friendship. I think there's a cage dimension to this relationship that I didn't know until there was a Goliath moment, right? It's like Saul, who's like, oh, you're awesome, until you're not awesome because they're singing a song that's kind of goes like, oh, well, Saul's slaying his thousands, but David's his tens of thousands. And Saul's like, wait a minute. Like, I am, suddenly not okay with this. And
I'm hearing you say a lot about insecurity and how in your life, I mean, is it all kind of go to these Goliath moments where you realize and have these like, like, okay, this person isn't okay with this version of me, or putting me, they're putting me in a cage, or they're feeling comparison because of insecurity. Like, how do you find people that it's not that comparison? I think my personality, I can be a high achiever. So I've had that where I find myself just pitting, my friends against me and like where we're at in life. And I don't want to be that way. But like, how do you get so secure in yourself, but then also find those people that are secure in themselves to surround your life, in your life?
Jonathan, if we're looking at a David scenario, he showed up after the Goliath moment. And he was like, I see on your life something that I want to help. I don't want to hinder it, to the point of actually it becoming David would eventually take the role that was actually technically Jonathan's to have, right? He's going to become the king when Jonathan's an heir to the throne.
Yeah.
So he's surrendering even something in that moment because he's realizing that's not what I'm supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And I think Jonathans are out there. I wish Jonathan friendships would show up before Goliath and be in your corner. But I think you have to have a Goliath to discover a Jonathan. I think you have to be you.
Yeah.
In all of whatever it is that God's called you to be. And at the other side of that are people that are like, do it.
Yeah.
I think we grow up. I think we grow up in communities and we grow up alongside people. And it's like when you're growing and everyone's, in your class, everyone's growing at the same, and then somebody has a growth spurt. You're like, what the heck? They walked in, like my son Noah, in one day he's like average height. Next day I'm like, what happened in the night? Yes. Like suddenly you're like a giant.
Yeah.
And then you stand out, but you didn't do anything to artificially stand. Does that make sense? Like you grew. And now we all figure, well, are we all comfortable with this?
Yeah.
Because it's like Joseph. One day I'm just Joe, and then I have a dream.
Yeah.
And something just happened.
Yeah.
Are we all okay about this?
Yeah.
And clearly we're not. We're not all okay about this because we can't sometimes celebrate what we envy or what we misunderstand or what we feel we deserve. Why did they get it?
Yeah.
And I think that's where all of this cage stuff begins to happen. Because now I've just put some bars up between me and you because I was okay while we were all growing at the same level. But then you just rock up with a growth spurt.
Yeah.
That's not your fault.
Makes me look bad.
And it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like you didn't ask for it. David didn't ask for it.
Right.
But it was in his destiny.
Yeah.
And there are those moments that are in our destiny that push something out that before was clipped. And in that moment, you figure out people are either going to go for it. Like, wow. Or they're going to go, who do you think you are? Like, that's not okay around here. And that's hard because that can happen in a close friendship. It can happen even parent to child.
Yeah.
It can happen with people that you always thought would be there for you. And that's where you got to really learn to be gracious and not get bitter and be obedient. I think Joseph never tried to prove himself. He just improved himself. And I think I just realized I don't have to try and prove something to you, prove that I'm still little David on the hill.
Yeah.
Like I've got to at some point be able to expand my wings and be all that God has called me to be. Stop apologizing, which is what you do a lot in a cage.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I remember seasons where I'm sorry. I didn't think that many people would show up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That more people came to this than that. Oh, I'm sorry that, people liked the message more than that message. You know what I'm saying? Like you end up apologizing for stupid stuff because you realize I've made everybody uncomfortable.
Yes.
But you didn't intend to.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Okay, there is something here I want to hit on because I think women especially feel this need to apologize for themselves all the time. I know I've caught myself where I'm the same and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And someone's like, stop saying sorry. So how do you fully how can you step into something confidently and stop apologizing for who God made you to be?
I just think about how I am with my kids. Right? If my kids excel in an area or they go for something or they step out, like I am so excited. I'm just like, go for it. That's amazing, right? Like you're cheering your kids on. Like right now, the age that yours are, Everett rolls over. You're like, yay! Pulls himself up.
Right.
You're like going crazy because it's like, this is a milestone moment, right? You've got this in you. I know you can do this. You're not born to sit or lay on the floor. You're going to walk. You're going to run, in fact. Like you're like, and probably your daughter's like, what's the big deal? Like I do that every day, right? But for him, this is a milestone moment. Right. And I think that's how God is about us.
Yeah.
Right? So God's like, yes, this is what I put in you. Come on, girl.
Yeah.
Yes, so every time you apologize, it'd be like your kid apologizing, your son apologizing. Oh, I'm really sorry I just stood up. I'm sorry.
Wow.
You'd be like, why are you saying sorry? You're created to stand up. Yeah. Like I want that image to sink in a minute for someone. Like you're apologizing for what God designed you to do. Wow. Which really is offensive.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's almost like, okay, God, I know you kind of made me good at that, but I'm going to apologize for it. It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you gave me that ability, but I'm kind of going to dismiss it because, I'd rather keep them happy than be who you called me to be. And so if my daughter was apologizing because she said her first words, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or apologizing because, she got a high score on a maths test. Then I'd be like, why are you apologizing? You're brilliant.
Yeah.
It's in you.
It's a gift.
And so whenever you get into that mindset of apologizing, I think you should think about what would you feel if your kid did that to you? Does that make sense?
It's really good perspective.
I think then it would stop us going, oh, I'm sorry. Instead go, no, this is what God created me to do. He gave me a voice for this reason, or he gave me that ability for this reason. And I'm not going to, it's like the parable of talents.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bury it and apologize for it.
Yeah.
because I'm supposed to make a return on it. I'm supposed to go and make it work. I'm supposed to go and increase it.
Wow.
And sometimes I think, honestly, some people just need to get busy with their own talent. And then they won't have the time to complain about yours. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like, just go get busy over there with your little talent that you've got to take care of, and let me take care of mine. Sometimes we're just too much in each other's business when we actually have business of our own to be getting on with.
Well, and it kind of comes back to this idea of insecurity that has been a theme throughout this episode. But I mean, insecurity can show up in many areas: relationships, parenthood, leadership, friendship. So then, being a parent myself now, how do I not cage my kids and put them in a cage and their abilities and what the gifts that God's placed in them as they grow up?
Right. It's that fine line between like, I want you to go for it, but then being controlling.
Right.
I want you to go for it, but I want you to be safe. I want you to go for it, but I want it to feel like I want it to feel. Your kids were God's before they were ever yours. And he's got them way more than you could ever have them. Yeah. And so your job is to propel them into all that he created them to be, and then trust the God in them. You want your baby chicks to fly. Sometimes you have to let them stumble. You have to let them fail at it. You have to let them. And I think in our wanting everything sometimes to look a certain way, we inadvertently cage our kids.
Wow.
Because we don't like the mess, or we don't want them to have to feel what we're trying to avoid them from feeling.
Yeah.
When the truth is that
our own pain.
Right.
Experiences.
And our own, sometimes our own small, you know, world that we want them to be in, and they're built for something way bigger.
Yeah.
And so I think as a parent, you know, we've got to make sure that we're not through our own insecurities that we grew up with, are placing them on the shoulders of now our kids. I was insecure, and now I'm parenting through my insecurity. I was always worried about this, so now my daughter's going to worry about it.
Right.
I never was good at this, so I'm really paranoid that she's not going to be able to handle that. You've got to, that part of us as parents, you've got to surrender it to God. Otherwise, we're going to have a generation that we say we've liberated, but the truth is we just built a cage according to our own insecurities. And I don't want that for my kids as much as I want to at times control them.
Amen.
Like every mother.
And we all
like,
said amen.
Yes, no, that's a terrible idea. But I'm just going to bite my tongue. So,
well, this has been so good.
I love our chats, like our little chat, and we hope that they're helping you and blessing you, and let us know. We're just right now talking around a lot of aspects of what Flight Club is all about, but I know today that will have touched on a nerve for some that either feel they have been caged, or here's what I want to say finally. Because the pastor in me has to say this at the end, like, if you have this feeling of someone's caged me, or I feel like I've been controlled, or I'm not being handled in a way that gets the best out of me, I just want to say this: be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. We can't fix anything by being angry, frustrated. Well, if you do waving a finger, like, and from that place of being kind, you'll find the right words to navigate a situation and a circumstance you're in. David, when he even cut the hem of Saul's garment, realized, what am I doing? It's not my job to cut down Saul. God's got that. And I think sometimes when we feel caged and we realize, man, I feel like I've been caged, we want to bust out, but in our busting out, we overreact. We say things we regret. And actually, we don't help the case at all. Joseph didn't come out of prison, literally a cage, which his brothers put him in, angry with his brothers. He actually came out and led a nation through a famine and actually helped his brothers. And I think I would love to see those that feel caged unfurl their wings, not in a spiteful way or an angry way or a look at me way, but actually in a beautiful way that lets God deal with what we don't need to deal with. So if you have been in a cage or you feel like you've been around some insecurity or any of the above, be kind.
That will preach, for sure. Well, if Charlotte's words resonated with you today and you're in this place of feeling caged, I want to encourage you to go get the Flight Club Bible study. It's designed for individuals to go through or for small groups. Grab your girls, get together, go through this together. And we're just praying for breakthrough, that people would be able to break out of those cages through this conversation and through the Flight Club.
That's right. That's why we're here. We
That's
love you
right.
guys, and
We
we'll
love
see
you.
you next time.
Are you looking for a brand new Bible study? Well, friend, I got you. Ribology and Flight Club are 2 incredible 6-week video-based Bible studies by Charlotte, designed for individual or small group study. So grab your journal, call your girls, and get started today at charlottegambill.com/resources, or just scan the QR code on the screen.